Gotham Knights episode 6, where a girl gets called a genius for reading a word in a book, and a 15-year-old does invasive surgery on a patient in a hospital because she doesn't want to be rude and ask the doctors to do it. They're busy, don't you know?
When my mom was still in med school, she would practice her suturing on bananas. She even let me try a few times.
Seriously, I don't know who writes this show, but I do question if they've ever experienced life on Earth. We start with news that the guy who killed Batman's parents is finally going to be shuffled off this mortal coil. He spent 50 years in prison, but they're going to kill him in this episode and make sure he can never come back in the future. And after 6 episodes of this, I can only say he's the lucky one. Sure, he complains, but I've got to be back next week. But we've got Harvey Dent, who's definitely not Two-Face, coming to visit him.
All right, Mr. Chill.
You're calling him Mr. Chill? With that face? I mean, I'm sure they don't have the best razors in prison, but I've never done that to myself.
Mind telling me why?
Every condemned man should be granted a last request.
I think never hire me for this crap again is a pretty good send-off, to be honest.
Remind me, what was the last request you granted Thomas Wayne?
The sweet release of death so he never had to appear on this show. Oh, it's like the inverse of Lost. It's just everybody wants to die. Everyone flips to the last page of the script. Oh no, I'm in next week as well.
Why do you think this city is suddenly itching to execute me?
Isn't that why you invited him here, to tell him that? Why would he know?
Who knows?
I'd see. Ask a stupid question, get a stupid answer.
Who indeed?
What is even this conversation? Do you know the answer to this? I don't even know who would. Nah, me either. This is just a meeting in a prison cell of general ignorance. Oh, he's got a coin! I've come to the conclusion that these coins are supposed to be scary, and they're really not. It'd probably help if Talon was scarier, but he can't even take out children or open a door.
That showed up on my meal tray yesterday.
You can't eat that, mate. Even for prison food, I'd expect better.
Do you know what it is?
What do you know about it?
I'm not telling you.
Then why are any of us here? We've all just asked each other a load of questions that we either don't know the answer to or can't be bothered to say it, apparently.
Then why am I here?
An excellent question, Castiel. That's a really excellent question. Why are any of us here? Why am I even watching this thing? I even had a break last week because it wasn't on. 2 minutes in, I'm questioning my life choices.
The only person I want to talk to is the kid who killed Batman.
Was Batman killed, or did he just die of cringe? I don't even know who you mean, and I've watched 5 episodes of this. Because we know they didn't do it, but as far as he's concerned, 3 kids killed Batman. And yet I know that he means the kid that paid to have Batman killed, which is an entirely different person. But we're just going to cut to the credits, and apparently he's going to work out what that means on his own. That's got to be one of those pointless openings ever, hasn't it? Why am I here? Do you know why you're here? I don't know what. Nor do I. Can you tell me what you wanted to do? No. Bearing in mind that at this point, the only way that guy is going to get what he wants is if he goes with a policeman into the police station, into a prison cell, and somehow doesn't get arrested. Because that happens later in the episode, and yes, it's as stupid as it sounds.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Quiz.
What on earth is this?
I am your host, the Master of Clues.
That is definitely a nickname you gave yourself. It's like a kid in school giving himself the nickname the Alpha King Behemoth. All his friends just call him Steve.
Arthur Brown.
Or Arthur Brown.
Who will be vying for a cornucopia of cash?
This guy is creepier than Ezra Miller's marketing team. I'm not even sure I've seen a man with the crazy eyes before.
I'll give you a clue. Right after this break.
The only place someone who makes your skin crawl that much could succeed is in Hollywood. So, you know, at least they're accurate in that part. But we go backstage and this is the father of Little Miss Muffet. Yes, being his daughter is apparently the only proof any of us need that she's a genius. Apart from the fact that she does read one word from a book later on. High praise, I'm sure.
You need to make these questions way harder.
It's not a competition if you're the only one smart enough to play.
I mean, it would be. It'd just mean you've already won. I do like the setup, though. She's like, you need to make these questions harder. Dear, you're the only person in the world that would be able to answer that question. It's Felicity Smoke all over again.
This is the only place I can never get a hold of you.
The network has us under the gun with this new season.
Which is rather ironic considering you're going to get fired at the end of this one. But she came here because she wants his help to translate the accounting book, which they got from the criminal gang in the previous episode. Because if I stole a book from the most dangerous gang in the city, which documented all of their crimes, I would definitely want my dad to read it. I'd love to know what excuse you're going to use to get away with that one.
Tried every cipher I can think of. Enigma, Nihilist, Pollux.
I do think it'd be cool if Enigma was a double meaning reference to Gotham, but let's face it, they're probably just reading the Wikipedia page for Cypher.
I even ran the numbers through a decryption algorithm I wrote, but...
Look, I tried all these other complex ciphers from everyone in the world, got absolutely nothing. I even ran it through one I wrote, because obviously mine will be better than everyone else's throughout all of history. The smugness is just radiating off her.
Nothing worked, so you wanted my help.
Yeah, I mean, if every codebreaker throughout history couldn't do it, and then my cypher couldn't even do it, obviously the only person that could is a guy in a quiz show. That's why if I had to decipher anything, the first person I'd ask would be James Corden. That's probably why he ended up in America in the first place.
Is this for school?
No, it's the secret McKillen family ledger outlining all their crimes.
Gotta be honest, didn't expect her to just come out and tell him the truth. Is, by the way, that's the book belonging to the most dangerous gang in the city, and when you read it, you're probably gonna die. Okay, Dad, love you. But you do realize this is probably getting him killed.
Of course it's for school.
What do you think is going to happen if he deciphers the book and starts reading about the criminal enterprise inside it? Don't worry, schools always give us the black books of the mafia. And besides, how could it be for school if she's the best person in the class and she can't do it, so she has to go to the only other person in the world that is clever enough to decipher this thing? Then why are we setting it as homework for 15-year-olds?
I wouldn't want this to count as cheating.
Yeah, don't worry about the gang violence, mate. It's the cheating that matters.
Dad, please.
Well, you can tell that manipulation has come through years of practice, can't you? But he gives her a speech at the end, my little Sherlock, fear not. You will find it at last. And thankfully, he refuses to give her the answer. He just gave her a little clue.
Dad! Wait!
That's the face of someone who's just got told no for the first time in their entire life. But with that, she gets a call from Harvey. Over to the hospital now, and if you want me to explain why any of these scenes exist, I can't. In fact, the only thing I learned about Robin's character during this is that she's a complete idiot, although not as bad as Blondie's boyfriend. So Robin is here because her mom wants to do homework, and no, I'm not joking, this is the plot.
Mom, please, come on.
Do you have somewhere more important to be?
Does a healthy person have somewhere more important to be than a hospital? Yes, for most of their life. What do you expect her to do? Surgery on random patients for no reason whatsoever? Nah, there's no way the writer's room would be that stupid. So they do a bit of a time jump. Blondie is now talking to Bat Boy. Apparently, Harvey wants to meet up with him so he can talk to the guy in prison and find out what he knows, as he's the only person he'll speak to. How any of this is going to happen when they're all wanted criminals, I have no idea.
He wants to set up an off-the-books meeting between you and Joe Chill.
I don't care how off the books it is still in a prison.
Oh, lucky. This is Joe Chill we're talking about, Gotham's original baddie.
Yeah, because that's how crimes work. I remember Steve, the first person to ever steal something in the city. No one had done crime before.
Do you know how many crooks started up because of him? He's like the patron saint of bad guys.
I don't think you know what patron saint means.
I don't think you know what patron saint means. A person who protects or guides a person or a place. Well, this is a guy who was so good at crime, he inspired a load of other criminals. He guided them into crime. What more do you want?
My dad wrote in his journals that the Court of Owls hired Joe Chill to kill his parents.
Oh, well, if your dad wrote it, I guess there can't be anything wrong with that then. He's basically just titter with, yeah, but my dad'll beat up your dad. That means I'll win the argument. And if you're thinking, yeah, well, he is Batman, the greatest detective of all time, that doesn't mean anything in this show. In this show, Batman's awful, and they basically say that later on.
Does that change your opinion of him?
No, mate, because I had a low enough opinion of the scriptwriters already.
Killing the Waynes sent a message to Gotham's high society. The city wasn't just theirs anymore. So basically, with no Joe Chill, there would be no Batman.
I mean, look at who you're talking to. The guy doesn't want him to have been Batman. His dad got killed because he was Batman. I'm not really sure this is the winning argument you think it is, love.
Look, I enjoy a great origin story as much as the next guy.
I hate origin stories. I think they're crap. Why can't we start the story at the interesting bit rather than the bit just before it gets interesting? Don't worry, the first movie will be boring, but the second one, that'll be a banger. Start with that then.
I'm a bit more curious as to why a murderer wants to talk to the grandson of the people he killed.
I'm curious of why he's just waving around that pizza and not eating it. Was that just a prop pizza and it's been hanging around the set for about the last 12 hours? Just put it on the floor, I know a guy.
Whatever it is, he'll only tell it to Turner.
I don't want to hear it.
And nor do I, but we're here now, mate. We might as well make the most of it.
The first thing my dad and I bonded over was the fact that we both understood how it felt to have your parents murdered.
Well, your Christmas parties must have been a laugh a minute. What have you filled my Christmas stocking with this year? Oh, it's depression again, is it? With a delicious order of self-pity. Awesome. Could have just played basketball together.
If I take this meeting, it feels like I'm betraying him.
Surely it depends what you do at the meeting. If you laugh in his face as he gets wheeled off to the chair, I think that's pretty loyal. You get what you deserve. It's hardly betrayal, is it? But she tells him about the coin that Mr. Chill got. Like, oh, maybe he'll have information about the Court of Owls.
There's one possibility we haven't considered.
Why would the police be asking their most wanted fugitive to come to prison for them? I mean, seriously, even if you have a conversation with the guy, you're still gonna get arrested immediately afterwards. What's in it for you?
That this is a trap?
I mean, I wouldn't call it a trap. Surely a trap is something that's supposed to catch you unaware. Asking criminals to come down to the police station seems pretty obvious.
Dent could have made this whole thing up.
I think if he wanted to make something up, he would come up with a better reason than, mate, can you just come down the police station for a bit? He'd be more like, I want to meet you anywhere except the police station, because they were definitely not going to go there.
Send in the blonde BFF to sell it?
How's she going to sell it? The only thing she could sell me is curtains. Largely because she'd appear outside the window and be like, well, problem solved. Out of sight, out of mind.
What's not to fall for?
What is there to fall for? A policeman asking a criminal criminal to go to prison isn't a trap. It's literally their stated mission in life. Their entire career is based on that premise.
Harvey didn't turn me into the gala, and he easily could have.
No, he couldn't. What are you even talking about? I don't know if you've forgotten, mate, but at the gala, there was a live bomb and a load of hostages in the other room. Oh, and let's not forget the armed criminals all around him. Please tell me how he was going to arrest you in that scenario.
Willing to risk prison to trust the man in charge of hunting you down?
No.
Yes, you are. I know you are, because I've seen the rest of the episode.
But this meeting could turn up something that'll help us take down the court. I'd risk just about anything for that.
So you are willing to face prison in order to talk to him, which is what you just said no to. This script can't stay on track for literally 10 seconds. No, I'd never risk prison. Well, I'd risk just about anything. So they go for a meeting in what I'm assuming is an old subway.
Wasn't sure you'd come.
It's not the first time he said that to a man in a dark room. After what he said at Comic-Con, none of us are sure anymore. But it turns out they've set a trap. Somehow, the Joker teleported behind him with a knife. I have no idea how. I thought there was only one entrance to the platform and it was the stairs. I thought that was the point. But they have a quick talk about Cressida. Oh, Cressida worked for the Court of Owls.
Turner, I'm sorry. I can't even believe it.
Yeah, it is rather coincidental and stretches credulity, doesn't it? If a scriptwriter later in the series is going, honestly, I can't believe that plot point happened, maybe something went wrong along the way. Even your own writers are going, yeah, that was a bit stupid, wasn't it?
So you can imagine why I'm hesitant to trust anybody.
After your agent put you in this show, I'd have trust issues as well.
You can trust me.
I don't even know why he'd say that in this scenario. He already thinks he's got a second personality that goes around killing people, and it's just like, no, honestly, I'm a good guy.
If this were a trap, a GCPD SWAT team would have taken you out the minute you pulled a knife on me.
Sounds about right.
What do you mean it sounds about right? The only reason she came up behind him in the first place is to counter the fact that it might be a trap. And yet the moment he goes, well, if it was a trap, you'd already be dead, she goes, yeah, that's true, isn't it? What? So you came up with a plan knowing full well that the plan wouldn't work in the only situation that your plan was meant to prevent. Logic is not your strong point, is it? So they decide to trust each other, and they do this simply because they're not both dead yet. Which means the Joker achieved absolutely nothing in that entire scene, and so I'm not sure what the point of this was in the first place. But it's on the news. Harvey Dent has delayed what's going to happen to the prisoner, and so they've got a bit more time to try and talk to him. The other guy running for mayor is trying to take advantage of it. I can't believe this guy is delaying this. I'm the one who can save the city, he's crap.
Thought your dad was gonna give you a clue.
Can't exactly lead with, hey dad, we're trying to take down a murderous secret society that controls Gotham.
That's actually exactly what you led with. That's the first thing you told him about the book. You just tried to play it off after with, no, of course it's school, despite the fact that you thought he was going to read it. Now back at base, they decide to have a traditional girls' night in, where one of them is trying to solve the cipher of a massive crime boss, whereas Joker wants to celebrate what she thinks is the inventor of crime.
And it's not gonna go any better by adding alcohol.
Come on, you won't know until you try.
That might be the worst idea of all time. I'm not going to jump off that cliff. It's dangerous. Well, you won't know until you try. Always comes from people that only value personal experience and can't actually intuit anything.
The only thing worse than talking about not drinking is actually not drinking.
Normally I'd have a rebuttal, but with this show, it's probably the way most of the audience gets through it.
I didn't think you and whiskey were on speaking terms. I meant like self-care.
This is my self-care.
Your self-care is drinking and feeling sorry for yourself. Starting that a bit early, aren't you? What are you going to do in the next episode? Visit a cat sanctuary. And so the two evil queens drink. I don't know if she's angry at the other woman or just doesn't like the taste of whiskey.
Hit me.
Careful what you wish for, love. You're in Hollywood. One of them will actually do it. Back to the hospital now as everyone is in agony. By that, I mean the audience. Robin's walking along doing anything other than homework. She smashes into Blondie's boyfriend. And if we try and set up a love triangle between those three, I might try and work out how long it would take for my head to demolish a wall. Of course, he's here for the community service, which he's doing to avoid a 5-year prison sentence for hacking into every single bank in the city. With a plotline that stupid, you'd think they'd want to forget it, but no. We're going to remind the audience of that one.
You know where I can find the oncology wing? I'm kind of lost here.
Wait, so you work at the hospital, you're staff, and staff bumped into a random visitor, and the staff is asking the visitor where something is. Now, I know this is from the writers of Batwoman, but seriously, has your testosterone limited your ability to read a sign? And if it has, why do you think a random visitor that you've just walked into will know?
Yeah.
Why do you know? My mum works at this hospital, and so I know everything. This is like in Willow, where she said she knew her way around a castle because I was born here. Didn't grow up there, she was just born there, and that gave her sort of a geographic knowledge of the area. Like a Ubisoft game where you climb a tower and instantly know the general area. The same thing if your mum worked at a place, apparently.
Yeah, just come with me.
Okay.
I don't know what's worse, that just because he's got dangly bits, he's so incompetent, or the fact anyone believed that someone that incompetent could actually hack into every bank simultaneously. We could use this scene to get him off the hook. Nobody this stupid could hack a bank.
What are you in for?
Not living up to my mother's expectations.
That's understandable. Your mum had really high standards, like attending a parents' meeting.
Have you met Dr. Kelly?
No way, your mom's Dr. Kelly?
Yeah, that's important later, because now, apparently, your mum's Dr. Kelly, and that means you can do open heart surgery. Genetic knowledge being passed down through generations isn't a topic I expected in Gotham Knights, but, you know, they like to keep us on our toes. So back with the slightly inebriated, and we're trying to work out the puzzle.
I think it's hard living up to celebrity. Try infamy.
I still don't know why she's trying to live up to the Joker. Yeah, by the way, my dad's a crime lord and a complete lunatic. I don't know how I'm going to live up to that reputation. Nor do I know why she's moaning about, well, my dad presents a quiz show. How will I ever live up to that? Definitely the most respected of all careers. Quiz show hosts. Oh, it's the way he spins the wheel. It just makes all the ladies swoon.
I can't imagine it says the Joker's daughter on your birth certificate.
I don't know what your birth certificate has to do with this.
You can choose what you want to be.
Wait, you think your birth certificate limits what you can be? What does it say on yours? The cluemaster's daughter? Even if it does, that's just a factually true statement. The only time your birth certificate has ever limited you is if you wanted to be somebody else's daughter. I mean, I know you want to give everyone daddy issues, but birth certificate is stretching it a bit far. I haven't even seen my birth certificate since I was 8 years old. It just sounds like you've got a chip on your shoulder, love.
As long as it's not wannabe codebreaker trying to solve her way into daddy's favor.
How would you solve your way into daddy's favor? He's a quiz show host, but I doubt he really cares if you can complete today's Wordle.
Better than trading on the name of a psychopath.
To be fair, Amber Heard's been doing that for years, and she's still in Aquaman too, so... Well, they said, did your dad give you any clues about how to solve the book? Well, he did tell me about Sherlock at the end. Do you think that has anything to do with it?
Your dad was giving you a clue.
Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. She's done it again. For some reason, and I don't know why, this character gets literally everything. Every single major event throughout the entire series. She's the one responsible for it. I don't know why. So far, she's been an engineer, a thief, a chemist, a hacker, a locksmith, a safecracker, and she's defused a bomb. And apparently now she's great at solving riddles and ciphers as well. Oh, and she does have another talent.
Fear was the last Sherlock Holmes novel.
Yep, she knows all about Sherlock Holmes, as well as everything else in all of human existence. I'm not surprised that guy's confused. They lived on the street. I don't even know when she had time to read, let alone get the books from. But apparently in Sherlock's last book, he was actually using a book cipher, and so now they just have to find the right book which solves the cipher. And she learned it from...
It was an answer on last week's quiz bowl.
I don't know why Blondie didn't know it then. Apparently she knows all the answers to that show.
The numbers in here correspond to a page, line, and word in a book.
Now that literally doesn't make sense if you actually look at it. Even if we're moving the numbers around, so the page is at the end here, but the start here, you would still end up with stupid things like page 623, line 54, and word 22. Or even worse, page 560, line 309, and word 68. I tell you, that's going to be a massive book to fit 68 words on a line with 309 lines to a page. Although considering this is accounting, and so lots of these will be people's names, I don't know what they do for the names of people who aren't in the book. Or, as we find out later, the addresses involved. And no, I don't know how that works either. Because if each of these is a page, a paragraph, and a word, then you have one word per line, maybe two. How on earth do you write an address down with that? The prop guys only had to write some numbers down. They even got that wrong. I wouldn't mind, but you didn't even need to show us the page.
So all we have to do is find one book among a few billion possibilities.
Yeah, that is really stupid, isn't it? Now, they are in a library, so have a lot of books to choose from, but not billions and not every single book ever written, and you have no idea if the correct book is even in your general location to find in the first place, which would also take weeks to go through. Not that any of that happens here, they just do it instantaneously. This show makes sense.
Among a few billion possibilities.
Yeah, these writers think if we point out a stupid plot point, then it's fine. You've got to forgive us if we tell you it's stupid to begin with. Over to Castiel, and they're visiting the inventor of crime. He had to smuggle the Bat Brat past all of the security, and so we got to dress him up as a SWAT guy.
Much for last request.
Don't worry, mate. You'll be out of this show soon enough.
Don't be too sure.
That's true. They might say he faked his death and bring him back for future episodes. You can never be too careful. But the Bat Brat reveals himself. He tells the Bat Brat about how I've been following your story and the Waynes watching you grow up because the press always gets things wrong.
Why'd you kill your father?
I didn't.
I know.
Then why did you ask? This guy might be the most annoying person in this episode, and that is going some. So far, all he's done is ask questions, then get answers back about about? I don't know. I was like, yeah, I didn't know either. Or I knew that you didn't know, which is why I asked the question in the first place. This guy's more cryptic than the cluemaster. But he spins a story about how you got set up for your father's murder. All the evidence just appeared, and the same thing happened to me. The Court of Owls wanted me to be guilty, so they set me up.
And their case, unlike the late Dark Knight, was bulletproof.
Okay, gotta say, I do like that line. I'm not sure it's the best line to get someone who's just had his dad murdered on side. Still a good line, though.
But this is Gotham. Nothing's ever a straight line. Nothing ever just falls into place.
That's just because of the script writing, mate. Why do we keep having the script writers go, do you know, our script is awful. None of this makes any sense. It's all remarkably coincidental. It's almost like there's an overpowering malevolent force which is just pulling all the strings. It's like, yes, you doing it badly.
It's because it was put there.
By the scriptwriters. I don't know if this is meant to be a meta-commentary on Hollywood, but we're getting there.
You can't seriously be standing there telling us that you're innocent.
It is really, really stupid that that would be written into the plot. I agree with you. Scriptwriters. But the worst thing would be if the Bat Brat believed this guy who's been in prison for 50 years and has provided absolutely zero proof of his innocence. Nothing has changed between this point and when the Bat Brat walked through the door. And yet, he spills the story of the night that the Waynes were killed, about how I didn't even shoot them. The bullets came from behind me just to make it look as if I did it.
I brought along a .38 caliber to scare them, but I never pulled the trigger. It wasn't even loaded.
That doesn't make any sense. You were a criminal, mate. Sure, it may intimidate them into giving you money, but what happens if they're armed? Firstly, if you were caught, wouldn't it carry the same sentence anyway? And if you do go around waving one at somebody, if they counter draw, well, now you're in trouble. All in all, it just seems like there's only downsides to this scenario, which, considering he's supposed to be this master criminal, the inventor of crime, he's not really living up to his name. He's quite the disappointment, actually.
2 perfect shots. I couldn't have done that if I'd tried.
Why? You were mugging somebody. This would have been point-blank range. Oh, there's no way I could hit 2 people right next to me with 2 bullets. That's impossible. We're not talking about skilled marksmanship here, dude. They're like a foot away from you.
What, so from his perspective, it looked like you shot them?
This story's getting more convoluted by the second. Oh, I didn't kill them, no. Somebody shot underneath my armpit and did it.
Just because a story looks convincing doesn't make it true.
This story doesn't even look convincing, nor sound convincing. In fact, this entire situation's quite farcical.
You used the same .38 caliber to kill your old man.
That doesn't mean you're innocent just because somebody lied about him.
Is that true?
Is that relevant? Back at the hospital now, I still don't know why, but she is doing her homework. The BFF's in trouble because he's got a patient and he needs someone to sort him out.
Those tests are in process. One moment.
That would be enough for most people. I need help. There's a patient needs a doctor. Okay, one moment. You'd presumably wait for her to get back with the doctor. Yeah, he's not going to do that. Oh, look, I've just spotted a doctor's daughter. She'll do.
There's a guy in trauma too who really needs help. Can you go get your mom?
Admittedly, that's a better idea than what happens next. At this point, he's still at least trying to get a doctor.
He's probably busy.
Yeah, but she's also a doctor, and the guy needs a doctor, so can you go and ask her if she's actually busy rather than just assuming her schedule?
Everyone I've asked is that they're really understaffed right now.
My mom says it's been even crazier with Batman gone.
You would have thought the rate of injuries would have actually gone down with Batman gone. A lot less broken limbs with him not around.
I'm not really sure this guy can wait much longer.
So you should really go and get your mom then, because he definitely needs help or he's going to die. And she's there. You could just go and ask her. Otherwise, a man is going to die. Let's not care about whether she's so busy she might have to miss a bit of a lunch break or something.
Take me to him.
Or go and get your mum, the doctor.
Okay.
Why are you saying okay? You've just seen them. Go and ask her. Yeah, we had to cut away from that scene just to make sure that nobody thought about how stupid it was, let alone what's about to happen.
You think the Court of Owls framed you for murder. Did you tell anyone else about this theory?
I mean, he's in prison, mate. Who do you think he's going to tell? They don't exactly have massive Twitter accounts to broadcast it to the world.
I told the pigeons.
Okay, mate, I'm not sure how much use they would have been to you, but I'm listening.
Didn't matter.
Of course it didn't matter. They were pigeons.
It's easy to hide evidence when you've got your hooks into the GCPD.
Especially if you only need to hide it from pigeons. They're not generally renowned for their investigative skills.
I didn't blame Bruce Wayne for hating me.
Yeah, because that would have been ridiculous. He thinks you murdered his dad. Like, even if you're innocent, it would be entirely understandable.
I've watched him grow up in the press.
Well, that's really creepy, but this is Hollywood, so probably an everyday occurrence, I suppose.
Learned that he grew up to become Batman. Oh, then I blamed him.
You blamed him for hating you when he became Batman. This ought to be good.
World's greatest detective couldn't figure out that I was framed.
Oh, there we go. How many times in this series have they just crapped on Batman? Batman in this series was awful, apparently. I don't even know why everyone's so scared of him or respects him. He was useless. Every time they reference anything he did, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, he was trash. He didn't learn anything. He was always wrong. I can't believe he didn't see this. This entire show just seems to humiliate him every chance he got. Oh, by the way, you're even wrong about who killed your dad. World's greatest detective couldn't detect your way out of a paper bag, could you, mate?
That's why you really called me here.
What, to insult your dad?
I want you to hear the truth.
The Batman was an incompetent fool. Yeah, that'll really cheer him up, thanks.
To show you we're more alike than you think.
Yeah, give it a decade, mate, you'll lose your hair as well.
You're right.
Well, I'm glad you've accepted it. Let's see if he comes back in a couple of weeks wearing a beanie.
The court used me to fit their narrative, just like you.
Why are you just believing his story? It doesn't make any sense. There is no reason to believe his story. He's just spun you something, and he has no proof, no reason to believe it, and you just went, yep, he didn't do it. You're the most gullible fool, and even if it's true, you're still gullible to believe him without even checking his story.
So I'll tell you what I wish anyone would have told me. I believe you.
Why, though? The why matters. Why do you believe him? Are we saying that's the only thing Batman's ever achieved, producing the most gullible person on the entire face of the earth? The dad investigated all of the time, and the son never investigated anything. What kind of logic are you practicing now? Believe all criminals? Even the guy behind bars seems ashamed of you. Oh, I can't believe that worked. And so after telling the murderer of his father that he believes him, is there anything you can tell us about the Court of Owls? Meanwhile, everyone else is going through every single book in the entire library, just hoping by random chance that they find the correct one. All I'm saying is if I was going to choose a book for a cypher, I would make sure it was one that wasn't very commonly read. The rarer the book, the more difficult the cypher. This seems pretty simple.
Watch it. This is heavy.
And it's not over 700 pages.
Okay, so we're narrowing it down to books over 700 pages. I think most books I read have over 700 pages. I don't know.
Gone through this entire library already, Colin.
You've gone through the entire library in like an hour. This isn't even a different day. How'd you go through an entire library of books in an hour? Then again, these people can teleport across town instantaneously, so maybe they got some magical powers.
What's Irish? Over 700 pages and until recently, stuck in the return bin.
Yep, that's right. The one place they didn't look was the return bin. And so, magically, they find the correct one. Crime Gang could have chosen any book, and they just happened to choose one that was in this exact library.
James Joyce's Ulysses.
Personally, I would have chosen a book that a load of school kids wouldn't find, but maybe that's just me.
7, line 5, word 6.
So they test it with one of the lines to see if it works.
Location?
Oh my God, Colin.
We've done it! I looked up 2 words. This is definitely the correct book. They don't bother to decode anything else. No, I'm not joking. At one point in this same episode, she even says, I decoded 2 words. From her own mouth, that's the only thing she contributed to the entire search.
I think we just cracked a code.
Okay, so decode the rest of the book. If you've cracked the code, decode the rest of the book. Oh, we don't have time for that. We've already cut on to the next scene, so we just forget about decoding the book from that point on. Instead, he's telling us about the Court of Owls, about how the coin is... It's a message that you're going to die. It's meant to be a coin for the ferryman to take you across to the other side, to help the souls of the dead pass on.
A message. Court's way of telling whoever receives it, we've won.
That's a really poor message, though, isn't it? I mean, if anything, it just seems to be a warning that Talon's going to turn up and kill you. So it's not like you've won. You haven't done anything really strategic. You've just sent a guy to kill him. Pretty basic, actually. It's like in Game of Thrones, where for the entire series, they spend all of their time trying to cleverly do something with a group of people, and then in the end just go, let's just kill him anyway, shall we? That's how we win. Okay. Why didn't you do that at the start of the series? Well, they say if the court set you up, why would they even keep you alive in the first place, only to kill you now after 50 years?
Court needs me to keep Gotham looking under its bed so it doesn't look up.
What's that? The great and powerful may turn people against each other so they don't actually look at who's really causing the trouble?
Based economy.
No, that could never happen. Although if this is going down a class warfare angle, then seriously, I'm off.
To see the real monsters that control this city.
Okay, at this point, I think the scriptwriters just hate each other. No, I'm the true scriptwriter. Those other ones are monsters.
You were useful to them until me and my friends started poking around.
No wonder you give him that look, Castiel. What was that? How up himself does he need to be? You were useful to the Court of Owls until me and my friends started poking around. Yeah, the poor guy would have lived if it wasn't for those pesky kids. Is no one even going to question the fact that you've just said, we got you killed, mate? I hope you're happy.
Time to tie up loose ends.
Look, if we can rack up the Gotham Knights Scooby Gang while we're there, I think everyone will feel a lot better.
I bet I'm not the only one to receive a coin lately.
Yeah, unfortunately, none of the right people have received one. But finally, we get down to some useful information.
How can we stop them?
you can't.
Or not, as the case may be. I mean, you would have thought talking to this guy would have actually been enlightening in some way. No, it hasn't. Anytime anyone asks him a question that could be useful, he's like, I don't know, mate. Or he just responds with a, do you think you know? No, that's why I asked the question. It's like talking to someone in Alice in Wonderland.
Too powerful. They're in the stones and the bones of this city.
I mean, everyone keeps saying that, but so far it's just been a couple of coppers and Talon walking around. If you want us to believe how powerful they are, you really probably should have shown us that by now. They're like the least intimidating thing about this show, and that's saying something.
What the hell can I do?
Give up.
Hey, were you at Batman's Christmas parties? Because it seems like you've been opening those Christmas stockings as well. So, you wanted me to come here. What can you tell me? How can you help? I want you to give up and die. I don't know, mate. I was really looking for constructive solutions. Why don't you measure up a coffin?
Give up?
Yes, finally! That is the only sane reaction to that.
That's your sage advice? Why did you even ask to see me?
That's what I was asking. But why is the scriptwriter asking that question? Shouldn't it be obvious, mate? Shouldn't you have set up the answer by this point? Instead of just going, wait, surely you didn't just bring him here to tell him that he needs to die, right? That'd be really stupid.
Look at me,
Mr. Anderson.
I am what your future looks like.
Look, we've already established he's going to be bald. You don't have to just rub it in.
Believe me when I tell you, quick death is better than 50 years in a cage.
Can we all just wait a moment to really, truly appreciate how ridiculous a moment has just happened? Because they thought this was deep. I guarantee you he was really proud of that scene. But if you actually just think about what happened without all of the cuts to a hospital for no reason in the middle, he's essentially brought Harvey Dent in to not tell him anything, so he would bring the most wanted guy in the city, smuggle him inside, just so he could tell him, by the way, don't you think you should accept your own death? Don't you think you should let Talon kill you rather than trying to prove your innocence? Why don't you just give up and die? That seems like a lot of effort to go to give somebody the worst advice in the world. It's not even as if he has much say in it, to be honest. It's what the owls want to do to him.
You can't mean that.
I mean, he probably does mean it, but that doesn't have any impact on whether it's good advice or not. Or rather, writing this as part of a script was a good idea. But with that, they're like, maybe we can get you out of here. Maybe we can save your life. They don't. But they said, if they're so desperate to silence you, you must know something. Is it? Well, there was this one inmate that I could have told you about right at the start, but instead I just wasted your time for a long time, when actually, oh yeah, by the way, one of my cellmates worked for the Court of Owls and told me all about them. You could have led with that at the start with Harvey Dent and saved us all a lot of time.
He said he knew the key to finding them.
Yeah, that'll do it then. No wonder they want to shuffle you off this mortal coil. The question is, why didn't they do it when he told you that in the first place? Why did they wait till now? But it turns out the key to finding them is in the nursery rhyme, the first two lines of the nursery rhyme. So this is a top secret group that doesn't allow anyone to talk about them, who made up a nursery rhyme for everyone to talk about them with, that actually gives the way to finding them in the first two lines of it. This supposedly powerful criminal secret society, probably filled with the most thick people on the planet. But at that moment they get interrupted. There is no saving this guy because he's about to go to the chair. Now. Oh, you may have tried to delay it, but the mayor overruled you.
Court of Owls that watches all the time.
Yeah, he just keeps repeating that for a while.
The time.
What does that mean?
Watches all the time.
What does that mean?
Castiel there really showcasing the spirit of me throughout these episodes. Why are you doing this? Why is any of this happening? But now it's time for a 15-year-old to decide to do surgery on a patient for absolutely no reason what. Sorry, no, there is a reason. Other people have busy schedules. I'm not sure that's going to stand up in court when you get done for medical malpractice, but she hasn't thought that far ahead. So rather than going and fetching a doctor or a nurse or any of the other available medical staff in a hospital, she decides to get her hands dirty herself and just starts investigating him.
His stitches are busted.
Yes, his stitches are busted, so you should probably go and get a trained medical professional to sort it out.
What are you gonna do?
Why are you assuming she's going to do anything? You're the one that works at the hospital. Why are you asking the visitor what they're going to do about a random patient's injury?
It's what you're gonna do.
Well, that's an improvement over a few seconds ago. At least we've got the staff involved.
Take this list to the supply nurse and tell her that this list is for Dr. Kelly.
Why are we sending him to get medication? Why is he able to get hold of medication? He's a cleaner. Yeah, hello. I like to mop some floors and I move some food around to the patient's beds. By the way, can I get all of this prescription stuff without any prescriptions, please? Thank you. Paperwork in a hospital? No, you must be crazy we don't do that. We just hand it out like candy, apparently. So he goes off to get the medicine for a random 15-year-old. Doesn't even question it, just goes, oh, it's fine. These two start discussing what's happened. Oh, how can a nursery rhyme be the key to finding the secret society? I'd be like, yes, That'd be really stupid, wouldn't it? Nobody can know who we are or they die. By the way, let's make a song where we just tell everyone our location in the first 2 lines.
I don't know who exactly is pulling the strings here, but I do know it's not you.
That's the scriptwriters. That's why they're so badly pulled. So they get a hug between them and then part, despite the fact that he's a wanted criminal and so should definitely have been arrested. The guy with the intelligence of a walking pantry comes back with the medication. I don't know why.
He's in rough shape, passed out from the pain.
So get a doctor then, you insane, crazy child.
Is your mom on her way?
That's an excellent question. It's weird how you don't follow up on that question later on.
She's not coming.
Leave. Go and tell somebody about it. Doctor, there's an insane lunatic over here with some scissors and some gauze, and she's about to start attacking one of the patients.
What?
How can you be so stunned and yet just stand there like a gormless prat?
She's being pulled in a million different directions, just like everybody else around here.
Oh, I'm so sorry that your mum might be a tad busy. But if you wouldn't mind putting down the scalpel that you're not trained to use and just go and ask her if she can do something for you, I'm sure she can make room. Or anyone else in this entire hospital who's actually trained to do something.
I'm gonna do it.
Why?
Wait. Have you ever done this before?
When my mom was still in med school, she would practice her suturing on bananas.
This guy is not a banana. I'm sorry that as a child, food was so scarce that you felt the need to try and suture up a banana to preserve it. But that doesn't mean you know how to treat a dying patient in front of you, which you yourself have said is in rough shape.
She even let me try a few times.
I've performed surgery on a banana a few times. I'm definitely capable of doing this. Words cannot describe the pure amount of evil which is happening in this scene right now. But the only thing that guy should be doing is tackling you out the window.
Got pretty good at it.
He's not a fruit.
I can't believe we needed to say that in a TV series. One of the characters had to tell the 15-year-old that the sick patient in front of them isn't a fruit. By the way, were you aware that this person isn't a smurf? Yes, or a unicorn, in fact. Also, you're a high school student, not a doctor.
So you're gonna stand there or are you gonna help?
I'm not gonna help, no. There's a far higher chance of getting yeeted out the window than me helping you. Hey, look, you want a medical malpractice lawsuit? That's on you. I'm not getting anywhere near that. Why are you helping? This guy is like, this is insane. You shouldn't be doing this. We should definitely get a doctor. And she just went, well, you gonna help or not? And he's like, well, maybe, might as well. That guy doesn't have a single brain cell in his entire face. No wonder he's been Blondie. Now he's holding him down.
You sure you know what you're doing?
No, she has no idea what she's doing. She's told you she has no idea what she's doing. She stitched up bananas and you're suddenly like, yeah, that makes you a doctor. That's how we get the qualifications in Canada. There's been some really stupid scenes in Gotham Knights, but I don't think any of them compete with this idea. The worst thing is the scriptwriters must think that this is a feasible scenario that might actually happen. How many hospitals have they been into where they just started treating random patients? We don't need to talk about doctors. They're a little bit busy, you see. No, what we have to do is we have to go around treating people ourselves. Yes, Dr. Death, they call me. Don't know why. Just a nickname they gave me one day.
You're not to tell anyone about this?
Don't tell other people that I performed surgery on someone without their permission isn't something friends ask each other.
Especially not my mom.
Yeah, please don't tell my parents that I did this. That's your biggest worry. I'd be more concerned about the police, love, not your mom.
You look like you know what you're doing.
Firstly, no, she doesn't. She's 15. Secondly, she's told you that she has no idea what she's doing. I stitched up a banana isn't medical school.
Thanks.
You shouldn't be that happy that someone has allowed you to perform illegal surgery on an unconscious person. I tell you what, Batman can pick him because Robin is evil. But Bat-Brat returns to the Scooby Gang.
Joe was just like us once, and tonight he dies an innocent man.
Well, I mean, you assume he's innocent of that crime. He was still a criminal that deserved to be in prison for his crimes. Just not maybe that specific crime. It is kind of like a distinction without a difference, though, really.
But we have something he never did.
If you say friendship, I'm leaving.
A team.
Oh, for how would a team help against the Court of Owls if they're as powerful as everyone says they are, despite the fact that they seem totally incompetent?
We went through all the books in your fancy school library.
And I decoded one of the entries.
Oh, wow, you coded one of the entries. Congratulations, love. That must have taken you literally seconds. That's what I mean about her contribution to this entire thing. Literally decoded one word. Location. Oh yes, the master cypher solver managed to solve one word during the entire night. I don't know why you found the book that was the key to the cipher and then just stopped deciphering things.
I made sure no genius on genius homicide happened.
Yeah, that's right. They're geniuses, aren't they? I forgot about that. Now, to be fair, his sister basically is a genius because they've just made her perfect at everything. Doesn't matter what skill you need. Apparently, she's a master in it. But Blondie, how has she proven she's a genius? At any point throughout this entire series, but especially when she decoded one word and stopped.
Turns out it's a street address.
How is one word a street address? Even if you mean a line, that's still only gonna be like 2 words because we saw the book.
We're going to this address.
Why? Why wouldn't you decode the rest of the book? Why don't you find out all of the information before you start randomly going into people's buildings around the city?
Where do you think you're going?
Where are any of you going? Why are any of you going?
To check my work. How else will we know if we really cracked the code?
There is no way you just said that and thought that was a good line. So I got a book that I used to decipher some text, and all of the text makes sense, and that text is an address that I randomly pulled out of a book, but I don't know if it's true. You know what else would prove if it's true? Why don't you try and decipher the rest of it? If the rest of it also isn't random nonsense, you've proved yourself correct. Congratulations. I don't know why visiting the random street address is the answer in this scenario.
It's too dangerous.
That's also an excellent point that I hadn't really thought about because, well, I didn't really care. I mean, if anything, you lot going into danger's a plus.
Be part of the court's criminal organization.
Then you should definitely go. Please, go, all of you, especially you. So they turn up at a boxing ring where they find a lot of people with guns and other stuff. Let's just say that a lot of the stuff probably should be where even Robin can't get hold of it.
Where's all that?
How can you not know what it is? I mean, seriously. I'm not going to show you what it is, but if it's white and illegal, then you can probably put 2 and 2 together. I don't know why Batman's son can't. The son of the greatest detective. This isn't rocket science, although it is probably chemistry.
And we should find a nice, dry place where we can call the cops.
That is an excellent plan, and surprising coming for you, actually. Normally, she's enjoyed fights in every other opportunity, and now she's got the opportunity to fight people, and is like, nah, can't be bothered with this one, mate.
You mean like with the McKillens? Those probably are cops.
This is the stupid thing about the scene. Oh, yeah, we're gonna have to go in there and stop them, because they're probably cops, and if we called the cops, they'll just let them go anyway, because all the cops are dirty. So it'd be really stupid if later on in the episodes they, called the cops on them. After deciding at this very moment, yeah, we're not going to do that. We can't do that, because the cops wouldn't do anything to them in the first place. We'll just forget about that later on when we call them, because it's convenient to the plot, and the script needed it to happen.
Yeah, I missed the part where that's our problem.
Okay, but you do enjoy beating up criminals. We've established that's your character in the series. Why don't you want to go and fight them? Because they want to go and fight them, which won't make any sense when it happens. So they decide that even though the Joker's left and Robin isn't here, we're going to go and take on a criminal gang with automatic weapons.
Anybody want to give me a crash course on being a vigilante?
Yeah, sure, except the problem is you can't fight, love. And the only crash course you're going to get in this fight is, don't stand in front of a gun, which is generally good advice at any point in life, to be honest. So they plan to go inside.
Now we're down 2 ass kickers.
Once again, this scene doesn't make any sense, because she makes a great point, but then the retort we get is this.
Hi, experienced fencer here.
Experienced in what, love? Doing your hair? Look, I'm sure if she needed advice on nail extensions, she'd probably be the perfect person to ask. But for the moment when we're taking on a criminal organization with guns that we're going to have to fight, I'm not really sure how much experience you actually have.
Next time we raid a pirate ship, you take points.
Raiding a pirate ship? I'm sorry, that's a reference that I don't understand.
She can handle herself.
No, she can't. You even know she can't handle herself. You know she can't fight. Oh, this show. It's actually his duty in this situation to keep her safe, and instead he's like, yeah, just put her at the front of the group. She'll be fine. Look at that, the eyes she's giving him. Yeah. He's letting me be a bullet sponge, because that's the only use you're going to be in this fight.
Besides, we have the element of surprise.
You're going to need the element of magic to survive this one, mate. But before we get to see that disaster, we're back with Harvey Dent, and he's called his mate in because he wants to warn him about the coin. You're in danger. Of course, he doesn't believe him because he's worked out that Harvey Dent was the guy who put the coin on him because he knows people in the police force, and they told him that he actually took a coin out on the same day that he got his. And all of this is interspersed with the guy they think killed the Waynes going to the chair. Meanwhile, the gang enter the boxing ring, bearing in mind that we've got people all around the side, and this is the Bat Brat, and the first thing he does is run past everybody and jump into the center of the boxing ring. So he's now surrounded on all sides for no reason whatsoever. Element of surprise not going to protect you much in there, is it? And just because he wanted to deal with the guy on top of the ring. Now, yes, he had a gun, but so did everybody else. But then the rest of the gang come in and they start beating people up around the side. There's a fight that goes on with slow motion for some reason. I don't know why. Here's a tip, unless everyone's really good at fighting. Don't slow it down. You don't want people watching in slow motion because it allows people to inspect what's happening even more. And of course, while they all fight, Blondie just stands at the door looking gormless. Of course, there is a problem when this guy gets up, grabs a gun, and is about to take out one of the gang. Lol, nope, Blondie comes in to hit it out of his hand. Although the guy gets the better of her and grabs her arm because she has no idea what she's doing in a fight, is luckily saved when the brother comes back to save her life, only for her to get grabbed from behind. Punch this guy in the face and he's just like, oh, did nothing. You are a tiny little girl that doesn't know how to punch me. And then we get this scene where there's no way she would have survived at this point, but for some reason, he decides to just point at her and wait, as you do. In fact, he waits so long that somebody else comes along and saves her as well. So she would have died twice in that fight. Yeah, it doesn't really look like she could handle herself, like the Bat Brat said she could. Not that anyone's even going to remember that. No, instead of actually thanking everybody that saves her life, she grabs some weights and starts smashing the stuff on the floor. I mean, honestly, I'm not sure crushing it helps much. Some people were probably going to do that anyway. But the issue is, well, Dent's talking to the guy who received an owl's coin. The lights go out in the place. It's telling everybody, time to give the coin what it deserves. So he meets a rather predictable end at this point. Guess he wasn't part of the Court of Owls after all. But the worst thing is, Dent walks up to Talon, who decides to put his knife to his neck, and I'm like, wait, did you not have a gun? You were across the room, why didn't you just pull your gun and take out Talon? Yeah, it wouldn't have worked, but I'm not sure they even know that at this point. Instead, he just leaves back over his table. Don't do anything! You're in a police station, surely you're armed. Luckily for him, though, Talon isn't interested. In fact, if he's just going to put his sword away, I don't even know why he put it to his neck to begin with. So back at the boxing ring, they've now had the fight, and the police are here because presumably the Gotham Knights called them. So they come along, find the guns, everything else, and find the gang all neatly tied up, which would be great if this was Batman. The issue is this same episode said all the cops are dirty, and the only reason they even went in to beat him up in the first place is because they couldn't call the police because the police would let them go. So please tell me, why did you call the police now? What do you think they're going to do? They're just going to let him go. So the Gotham Knights have achieved nothing. Because if they were going to let him go before, they're going to let him go now. It's just now they're a bit bruised up afterwards. I don't even know what your goal was here. They didn't even destroy the product. But they're watching TV and the press start praising the Gotham Knights.
If they knew who you guys really were, they would lock you up right next to those drug dealers.
Based economy.
And you deserve it as well. I'd lock you up myself.
What now?
We'll know that when we decode the rest of the ledger.
Why haven't you decoded the rest of the ledger? You've had plenty of time. Why did you just stop at the first two words? Decoding the book and then deciding where to go next is the obvious solution. I still don't know why you went to the boxing ring.
See if we can find out where all that ill-gotten money is going.
Yeah, that would have been a great plan if only you'd gone there first.
It might just lead us to the court.
He even knows that if we decrypted it, we might find the court, and he's like, nah, let's go to this random street address for no reason. So then we cut back to the hospital where that guy's dad, who was with Harvey, is now arrived. So he's not left the show yet. In fact, there's a chance he could be saved, because Robin's here and she might be able to perform surgery on him.
Oh my god, is that your dad?
Don't worry, mate. Robin has trained for this on bananas. And of course, every Gotham Knight show needs a scene all about feelings.
You okay, Steph?
Yeah.
Oh, great. It's not just feelings. It's crying feelings.
That guy was a trigger pull away from killing me.
That's true. There were definite upsides. It's just unfortunate we were so unlucky.
And if Harper wasn't there to take him out, then I'd be...
Steph.
Then I'd be improving the show. Yes, it's true. If you hadn't pretended that you knew what you were doing and then walked in and almost got shot, saved by everybody else twice, then everybody would have been a lot better off.
You did great.
No, she did awful. She had to be saved twice by everybody else and almost died. How is that your definition of great? Why am I asking that question? I know who he is. Yes, compared to Batboy's record throughout the show, that's about par for the course, I guess. I remember his fighting from the first episode.
Thanks.
Don't thank him. If you follow his advice, you're gonna get killed. Can we go back to the crying about how awful you are at fighting? Because that might actually save your life if you acknowledge the truth.
If we weren't scared, we'd be dead.
I'm not even sure that phrase makes sense on a basic level. I'm not even sure what that's supposed to refer to.
What's to stop all of us from ending up just like Joe Chill?
Oh, now you're talking. Yeah, that'll be a great episode. What we're gonna get is it gonna be like The Walking Dead. They just line him up with a baseball bat.
Because Joe Chill didn't have someone like you.
Oh, okay, that didn't last long, did it? He had to destroy it with cringe. I'm not even sure what she's got to do with it. That guy ended up in prison because the evidence said he was guilty because it was planted that way. What's that got to do with her? She didn't prevent you from going to prison. The only thing she achieved was almost going to prison herself when she got found hacking a bank. I'm not sure what she's even contributed to this series.
Earlier today, I told Joe that everyone in my life believed the stories about me.
That's not true either. Literally everyone in this building didn't believe the stories about you, including the criminals that were in the same cell as you.
Stephanie, you stuck by me.
And everybody else. Literally everybody else that you knew stood by you. Even Harvey Dent stood by you.
You even helped out those other weirdos when you had no reason to.
How was she helps the other weirdos? And at least we're calling them weirdos.
Was always there to remind me I'm not alone.
Shouldn't every person remind you you're not alone? The definition of being alone is that there isn't anybody else around. So anybody would remind you of that. She's also dating somebody else, dude.
Everyone adds something to this team.
Okay, what does she add? Go on, this ought to be good.
But I would have given up a long time ago if I didn't have you.
Okay, but what does she add to the team? I'm still waiting. If everybody adds something, and I've got questions about some of the others as well, but what do we get from this? Well, I'm glad to see that you don't have any answers about that either. But we're back at the hospital waiting for news about his dad. Robin's getting food from a vending machine rather than treating him for some reason.
His dad is still in surgery.
Okay, but why aren't you in surgery? That man needs help. You can save his life. You've practiced on a banana. Nobody else is more qualified in the show than you. You've already proved it.
Your father is in stable condition in the ICU.
Well, what are you doing then? Get Robin in there, stat. She can help him. She's trained for this her entire life. You should see the quality of the triple heart bypass she did on a pineapple. It was insane. But we're back with Harvey Dent and he is angry. Can't believe you're doing this. Literally shaking until he sees a mirror. And oh no, I think he's turned into Two-Face. He pitched this series as now we see a slow decline. What could drive a man to be Two-Face? It turns out he was just Two-Face all along, actually. Oh, I get brought out in music and it's just like a normal part of me. I can't handle stress. Oh, right. Okay. I have no idea where this show's going at this point. You get some episodes like, okay, but why? Why were all those scenes in the hospital? Why is a 15-year-old doing surgery? We'll never know. Why did we spend so long talking to a guy in prison whose only contribution was basically, you should just give up and die, mate? And why did he go to such lengths to tell him that in the first place? Why did we decode a book only to just decode the first line of it and just forget the rest? Go into a boxing ring where we had to go and beat them up because the police wouldn't do anything to them and then call the police? I'm not sure a single thing in this episode made sense. But then again, this is from the writers of Batwoman, so I'm not really sure what I'm surprised about. Although I am surprised that anyone that would write something like this would even consider striking for better pay. Well, those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe. More videos like this in the future. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.